Good evening. Good evening. Just a little bit of how the technology is going to work. You can all turn around in the back and you can see the television back there. That will tell you what is live at home. Candidates will be up front. There's 4 seats up there, and that is the maximum number of candidates that we have. The moderator will be at this podium. The largest audience is actually folks at home. So I would like to welcome everybody who's here and welcome everybody who's at home and watching on the internet. At this time, please turn off all cell phones. Otherwise, I might be tempted in answering it for you. My name is Kay Shelton, and I'm with the League of Women Voters of Dekalb County, recently reformed after a hiatus. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization for women, and men are welcome too. The League encourages informed citizen participation in government and works to influence public policy through education and advocacy. The League does not support or oppose any particular political party or any specific candidate. There are membership forms available tonight for anyone who's interested in joining. For those of you who are at home, the email address is, I hope, easy to remember, leagueofdekalbcounty@gmail.com. I wish to thank everyone at the City of Dekalb for allowing this event to be held in the council chambers and for their work involved in televising the event on Channel 14 and live streaming on the internet. Thanks go to Dekalb County Clerk John Accardo and his staff, and for his enthusiasm in attending tonight to provide information to voters. Thanks also to all the candidates who could participate tonight and taking the time to be here. Invitations went out to all candidates for these offices, but not all could attend. First, there are a couple of housekeeping items. For the candidates, because this is a public government building, literature and yard signs cannot be left unattended, and no extra brochures can be left behind at the end of the evening. Please take home any extra campaign literature at the close of this event. Don't want to leave it tomorrow morning for the government workers. That would be a no-no. Second, on your program we have a late edition. Please add candidate Dave Severson, my apologies, for Illinois Senate District 35. So that means there will be a real debate rather than Christine Johnson providing a 2-minute statement. Candidate forums provide an opportunity for the public to participate in the electoral process by asking questions of candidates. Candidates with opponents present will each have the opportunity to give a 2-minute opening statement followed by 3 questions from the audience with 1 minute to respond and then a 1-minute closing statement. Lynn Fazekas will be the timekeeper. She will have warning signs at 1 minute, 30 seconds, 15 seconds, and stop. Going past stop might mean she might ring the bell. League members will select appropriate questions, but the moderator has the final choice in asking the questions. At the door, there were suggestions on how to write appropriate questions. Not all questions will be asked due to time constraints. Also, many of the candidates you will see tonight will run unopposed in the primary. They will have 2 minutes to provide a statement. This primary election is a bit different because it's the first one following redistricting. There are maps of the various districts in the local area available this evening out in the hallway. Because many of the districts changed, voters may see some different names on their ballots compared to previous elections. Also, all of the county board seats are up for this election. Because this election is a primary, not all of the candidates you will see tonight will appear on your ballot. You need to decide what type of ballot you want when you go and vote. Also, many of the candidates you will see tonight will run unopposed in the primary. They will have 2 minutes to provide a statement. The DeKalb area has an excellent reputation for having attentive and well-behaved audiences at events such as this. Some areas east of here have had some problems with disruptions. I know folks here tonight will be again respectful towards each other. If not, don't forget the jail is downstairs with the police station. Tonight's moderator will be Kate Schott, managing editor of the Daily Chronicle newspaper. Please welcome her and thank her for her willingness to host this event.
Thank you, Kay. Well, let's get started with John Accardo, the DeKalb County Clerk. He is going to provide some election information for us today.
Thank you, Kate, and thank you, Kay, for hosting this event this evening, and welcome to everyone and everyone watching at home. My name is John Accardo. I'm the DeKalb County Clerk and Recorder, and I know Kate summarized a lot of the information that is available out in the lobby, but we also want to make it available to you online as well. If you want to visit the website, www.dekalbclerk.com, or if you're interested in calling the office at 815-895-7147, we'd be more than happy to provide you with information about the new redistricting changes, which districts you now reside in, and even provide a sample ballot for you so that you'll know who you're voting for. Just some technical details about the elections. The last day to grace registration and vote is Tuesday the 13th, so be sure to do that. If you're interested in voting here in the city of DeKalb, we do have an early voting site available across the street at the DeKalb Annex building, and that will be voting tomorrow until noon. Next week, it will be in the city of Sandwich for the entire week, all the way to the conclusion of early voting on March 15th. So I encourage you to take advantage of the many voting opportunities that are available to you. The election is March 20th, and all polling locations are available. Again, if you have any questions, I'm always available at the office or here for a little bit after the event. Thank you, and enjoy the candidates forum.
Thank you, John. All right, we're going to start with the 23rd Circuit Court judicial candidates. So if Bill Brady and Ronald Manikaitis would please head up here, I would appreciate it.
This one. I'm taking your chair. You want it? Go ahead.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. All right. We're going to have 2-minute statements from each of them. Bill Brady, if you would start.
Thank you very kindly, Kate. I first want to be the first of many people tonight to thank the League for putting on this forum. Information is always the most important thing in any election. And Ron and I are here today to give you a little bit of background about ourselves. 37 years ago, I came out to this community, this county, without a job, without any friends here, and without a family here. During the following 37 years, I've obtained a profession that I am passionate about. I've obtained many, many friends. My best friends are out here. And with my wife, Chris, we've grown a family of 3 children, a dog, a rabbit, another dog. In any case, I owe a lot to this community. You know, what I am, what I've become is as a result of the people here. I spent 10 years in the state's attorney's office here in DeKalb County trying every type of case that came along, as well as advising and representing the county officials, both elected and appointed county officials here. I spent 18 years as a private practitioner in the legal area representing my friends, neighbors, and acquaintances, and with my 2 best friends, Jordan Gallagher as well as Kirk Klein. And then I spent the last 8.5 years as a judge, an associate judge, handling all types of cases here in DeKalb and Kane counties. I'm presenting my candidacy because I believe I owe it to the community to make sure that qualified people run for offices, and I think I am that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. Ron.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for again demonstrating their leadership and bringing these forums back to our communities, and for those of you in attendance for choosing to be here this evening. I'd also like to say I feel honored to be involved in an election contest for Circuit Judge with Judge Brady, whom I know to be not only a good person, but a good judge. Almost any attorney can point to a person or event in their life that served as the inspiration for them to choose a career in the law. For myself, it came during high school, Watergate, and the principle that no person is above the law. It was at that point in time that I knew what I wanted to do. I've been fortunate throughout my professional career to have been able to serve in positions that allowed me to work on upholding that principle, whether it was as Dekalb City Attorney or Village Attorney for Kirkland and Waterman, as your State's Attorney for almost 9 years, and now as an Associate Judge. As your State's Attorney, I work to help develop a more effective and efficient court system by working to institute, and we have instituted while I was State's Attorney, a diversion program for first-time offenders, a drug court, as well as the State of Illinois' first DUI treatment court. As Circuit Judge, I pledge to continue to work to make our systems more efficient, more effective, and to continue to honor the principle of no person is above the law. And towards further demonstrating my commitment in that regard, I have previously announced that I'm refusing campaign contributions from all attorneys, as well as their spouses. I believe it's important to acknowledge the common perception that money can influence and has influenced in the past affairs of our government. I pledge to you that I will continue to treat each person that appears in front of me with dignity and respect, to render a timely, fair, and just decision based on the facts and the law, and to never stray from that premise that all of us are equal before the law. I thank you for your time. I look forward to the campaign, and I'd be honored to receive your vote in November.
Okay. Judge Brady, Judge Matakaitis, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Next up are the... Not me. Next up are candidates for 35th State Senate District. So if Senator Dave Severson and Senator Christine Johnson could please join us. Appreciate it.
Make sure you talk into the mic.
Okay.
Right into the mic.
All right. Senators, welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Absolutely.
We are going to start with opening statements. If Senator Severson, if you would like to give yours.
Thank you very much, and thank you for putting on this a forum, giving us an opportunity to introduce ourselves and talk a little bit about the issues that are important to all of us. Just in quick background, as was mentioned, redistricting has changed the areas. Previous to this last redistricting, I had the opportunity of representing northern DeKalb and Boone County and parts of Winnebago County. And now under the new map, I am coming back home and representing northern DeKalb and a little bit further of that, as well as parts of western Kane. It's tough to cover a lot of issues in a very short period of time, but let me just say I come from a business background, and as a business background, it's pretty clear that you can see that Illinois is facing some systemic problems that have been compounded over the fact that for years our leaders were unwilling to address the major issues that they were facing, whether it was Medicaid, pensions, health care, education, the jobs climate. Their failure to address those issues only made the situation more difficult in Illinois. The good news is that these problems aren't unsurmountable. We have the ability to turn this around. We've seen what other states have done. My commitment is that working with both sides, dealing with the core problems in Illinois, we can put Illinois back to work, and we can address those core issues that Illinois is facing. And it looks like time's almost up. You can always go to my website. There's more information about where I stand on issues, and I look forward to answering your questions as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Severson. Senator Johnson.
Good evening, and I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event tonight. It's really my pleasure to be here. I just got back from Springfield to be with you. As you may remember, I was appointed to fill out last year, unanimously by the Republican County Chairman, to fill out the term left by retired Senator Bradley Brzezinski. And it's really been my privilege and honor to serve this 35th district and the citizens of this district, and I'd like to continue. The new 35th district is 75% of my old 35th. And prior, of course, to this, most of you know that I served as a DeKalb County Treasurer for 17 years, being elected 5 times in DeKalb County. Many of you know that I graduated from Northern Illinois University. Go Huskies. And one little fun fact I'd like to share with you is I'm the only graduate of NIU to ever represent NIU's main campus in the Illinois Senate. So that's a fact I'm very proud of. I've been married to Jim for 28 years, and we have one grown son. People ask me why I want this job. And I tell them it's because I have a heart for public service. I believe that people want and need someone in Springfield who can represent their values. I believe in smaller, smarter government, and the state government has grown far beyond what it should be. I believe in families, and I will fight for them in Springfield. I'm pro-life, a pro-family senator who believes that marriage is a sacred bond between a man and a woman. I also believe that parents should have the ability to decide how and where their children are educated. I believe that the Constitution must be upheld, and I'm a strong supporter of your Second Amendment rights. The welfare of our families is also the reason I'm opposed to the expansion of gambling in Illinois. Gambling is not a reliable source of revenue, and it leads to addictions and a variety of social ills. And speaking of spending, as the treasurer of DeKalb County, we always had a balanced budget, paid our bills on time, and had money to invest at the end of every day. I'm horrified by the sea of red ink in our state, and as you are as well. I think that we need to balance our budget, and we, like our citizens do, and we need to lead by example.
Okay, thank you. Not surprisingly, many of the questions submitted for you guys have to do with the state budget. The first question will go to Senator Severson. Medicaid costs are exploding. What can be done to contain the costs?
Medicaid is the largest portion of our state's budget, which is the health care program that deals with low-income individuals. Again, the solutions are simple if you're willing to make those right decisions. The idea that the governor is talking about with just taking a large hatchet approach is not the way to do it. That system needs to be, the areas that we address it are, number one, we deal with making sure that only those who qualify for the program are in the program. Second, we institute a plan of managed care, especially dealing with the AABD population as a way to lower those costs. Third, we look at instituting plans that will help manage individuals in the way of paying co-pays for families that are involved in the program. And then fourth, we institute a program of wellness benefits. If we can keep individuals healthy, they're not going to be utilizing the system. So those are all things that can be done, that other states have done. If we do that, we can bring that spending under control.
Okay, thank you. Senator Johnson, same question.
Well, I think, as Senator Severson said, Medicaid is a huge part of our budget. Over the past 10 years, Medicaid enrollees has gone up 75%. It's an extraordinary expense for our state, and it's only growing, and it's looking to be up to $21 billion in just a very short time. I think there are a number of things that can be done to get our Medicaid spending under control. First of all, we need to instate a Medicaid recapture audit where we look and see at every person who's on Medicaid if they are eligible. They will look at their income and their other eligibility statistics and make sure that they are actually eligible. The other thing that we can do is to do a reduction in our services. Illinois has some very generous benefits, and if we just reduce them to the national average of what other states provide, we can save over $1 billion a year. And I think that that's something that we need to do.
Okay, thank you. Second question is about concealed carry legislation. I believe a measure passed out of the House Ag Committee this week, if I'm not mistaken. Do you support holding universities liable if concealed carry passes and universities do not allow concealed carry on campus? Senator Johnson.
Well, I think that concealed carry is probably the number 2 issue that I get asked about every place that I go. Budget's number 1 and concealed carry is number 2. I'm supportive of concealed carry. I actually filed a bill this year so that our citizens have the ability, like the citizens in the other 49 states, to carry weapons. As far as universities go, I know that that's part of the discussion and the conversation that's going to be, and the negotiations that are going to go on as the concealed carry bill moves through the General Assembly. And I think that our universities will need to come to the table and talk to the other parties involved, and we need to have a conversation about what their responsibilities will be on campus.
Okay, thank you. Senator Severson.
I would agree with most of those comments. I support the right for concealed carry. Obviously, it's something that has worked in 49 other states. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We've got the ability to look at what has worked in other states and implement those same measures. Much of the concerns that have been raised by individuals are concerns that have never been borne out in other states. And so we feel comfortable that's the right thing to do. In regards to the litigious issue in Illinois, that is something that clearly when the legislation is passed will be addressed, and universities as municipalities and churches and schools will all be part of the conversation. But again, I think people should feel comfortable that what Illinois is going to do is something that has a track record of being done in other states, and they should feel comfortable that the decision that's ultimately made is one that's going to be the best for the citizens of Illinois.
Okay, thank you. Third question is about pensions. What can be done about the unfunded pension liabilities in our state? Senator Severson.
The pension problem is growing at a unsustainable rate. It is caused by a combination of years of the state not fulfilling its obligation, as well as actuarial changes and investments that have been reduced as well. The issue now is not looking backwards and pointing fingers. The issue is that we are facing a debt that is not sustainable, and there has to be a solution. The solution is not going to be found with one side or the other trying to bully their way in. We have individuals that have a right to pensions that have been promised, that have either retired or are near retirement, that have counted on that, and we need to make sure that it's there. The solution is going to ultimately entail a combination of the state fulfilling its obligation, increased contributions, and dealing with how we work with new employees. And it's difficult to try to answer a pension problem in 1 minute. So don't complain if someone says you're just giving a soundbite answer.
Thank you, Senator Severson. Senator Johnson.
Well, the senator has said many of the things that we've already known, that the pension system's unsustainable. We have $85 billion in debt, and obviously something has to be done. There's no doubt about that. Reform has got to happen. Certainly I think that the solution is that we need to bring all the parties that are involved to the table. I think the employees need to be there, the General Assembly, the governor's office, and all the folks that are involved in the pension system problem. We need to make sure that people are treated fairly. Their people have contributed to the pension system over the years, and certainly they are looking toward that pension and depending on it. We also need to make sure that any changes we make are constitutional, so that we do not end up in any type of protracted lawsuit. And then we need to make sure that they're affordable, so that we can actually get ourselves out of this pension mess.
Okay. Thank you. On to closing statements. Senator Johnson.
Illinois has many challenges. I don't think I need to tell you that. But we have many assets as well. We have beautiful natural resources. We have a stable transportation infrastructure. We have fine educational institutions. We have strong industries. And we have a well-educated workforce. And we have citizens like you that are engaged in this political process and want to see our state turn around. Many people talk to me, we hear talk about this sandwich is awesome or this shirt is awesome. But, when I walk into the Capitol every day and I walk through the rotunda and I tread on the steps where a lot of our past leaders have tread, I look up and I think to myself, I work here and this is really awesome. And that is why I believe that if you send principal leaders to Springfield, we can restore our state to one that we can all be proud of again. I want to be one of those leaders, and I would appreciate your vote on March 20th. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Johnson. Senator Severson.
Thank you. Well, as we've been talking about, Illinois is facing significant problems. The solutions to those problems are not going to be found in politics. It's going to be found in sitting down together with both parties and reaching those solutions that have to be made. This is a time when we need to put those differences aside and work together to say, how are we going to fix problems that are as large as they are. That can be done, but that means being willing to take the risk, to take the tough votes and pay the price for taking the tough votes, but doing what you know is the right thing to do if we want to make Illinois strong and vibrant like it once was. I'm proud of the fact that I've been endorsed by both business groups, Chamber and NFIB and the manufacturers, as well as labor groups. And I've been endorsed by taxpayer groups as well as retired teachers. I think that shows us that together, that all of us working together to deal with these issues, we can come up with a solution that's actually passable and workable here in Illinois. So thank you for allowing us the opportunity to be here tonight.
All right. Thank you, Senator Severson. Senator Severson, Senator Johnson, thank you for joining us this evening.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have the 90th representative for the Illinois House. If Daniel Sidmore, Chet Olson, Leandro Lee Aurelano Jr., and Tom Demmer could please join us up here.
Hi, Lee. Fine.
Again, make sure you talk right into the microphone.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'd like to welcome all of you. These are the candidates for the 90th Representative House District for the Republican primary. We're going to start with opening statements. If Mr. Sidmore could start.
Yes, thank you to the women. Can you hear me? Okay. Thank the League of Women Voters. My wife was past president of the League. I know how much work it takes to put on one of these events. I'm quite honored to be here tonight. When I was coming up the steps, my great aunt lived across the street and had the largest Lincoln collection in the state of Illinois. Our family founded some of the department stores downtown, the bank, and survived during 1929. So we have deep roots in the city of Dekalb as well as the agricultural district. I've been married for 25 years. My wife, Jenny, and I raised our kids from middle school to high school here in Dekalb. We are basically Dekalb at heart. I grew up in North Aurora as a village trustee, but when my youth, I've always traveled to Dekalb to stay at the family farms, the Horn Farm south of town. I think the one thing I want to explain tonight about what I can bring to the 90th District, in the last year we passed a mental health bill in Springfield to enable us to get people out of county jail. I just been working on a bill, a resolution to have the state constitution displayed in the rotunda, which has never been done, received bipartisan support both in the House and the Senate. And the best thing we're doing is working bipartisanship to promote our state parks, with both the Democrats and the Republicans have signed on to that. So that's my proof of showing that it can be bipartisan, and my 30-second mark just came up. So what we'd like you to do is look at the newspaper articles, read them. They have much more about what I am. I am one of the few candidates that are not spending a lot of money on this race, so I would like you to read the chronicles on the webpage. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sidmore. Mr. Olson.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the League for putting on this forum tonight. My name is Chet Olson, and I want to be your voice in Springfield for the state representative position for the 90th District. I'm a lifelong resident of Ogle County, a lifelong member of Rochelle St. Pat's Church. I'm a graduate of Rochelle Township High School and attended Kishwaukee College. My professional career spans over 40 years in the communications industry, as well as I'm a small business owner. I've been married for 34 years, have two wonderful children, and 3 super grandchildren, and a 4th one coming in 10 weeks. I've also been mayor of Rochelle for the last 8.5 years. Presently, I serve on some state and national committees and boards. I'm on the Illinois Municipal League board. I'm also past president of the Northern Illinois Mayors Association, on the Governor's Broadband Deployment Council, as well as the Illinois Sensory Network Policy Committee, and on the national level, I'm on the National League of Cities IT Steering Committee. A few things on my platform is balanced budget, term limits, create jobs, conceal and carry, pension reform, and Medicaid reform. I would just like to close with saying that I really appreciate all the different communities and the talks I've had with them. There's some very interesting concerns out there, and it's my job to represent those people. And I appreciate your vote on March 20th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Olson. Mr. Arellano.
Thank you. Thanks for hosting this. Thanks for coming out. First, I'll apologize. I'm a little under the weather. So, my name is Lee Arellano. I'm running for state representative in this newly drawn 90th district. I'm a businessman from Dixon. I own a Jimmy John's, own and operate it out there. Before that, I was in business management. I'm also an Army Sergeant. I currently serve in the 485th Engineer Company in Rockford, and I've done 2 combat tours, first in Ramadi, Iraq in 2005, and most recently I got back in May of 2010, serving a year in Baghdad. So my background is a little different from the gentleman up here. I'm not an elected official. This is actually my first run for office. But it was the things I saw trying to open up. We bought our franchise in 2007, opened our doors in 2008, and got nailed by the recession immediately after that. So it was my experiences trying to open up a business in the state of Illinois and operating it through the recession, which I did do successfully, but I saw a lot of things in terms of how unemployment policy worked, how workers' compensation policy worked, a number of things that make it hard to thrive as a business in the state of Illinois compared to some of our surrounding states. So that's really what got me active, and that's why I'm here. I'll tell you a little about myself. I grew up in Ogle County, grew up in Grandetour. I went to the University of Michigan. I started working at a very young age 12. So I very much worked my way up into management jobs and eventually entrepreneur ownership now where I am. I've been married since we got married right before my first combat tour when I got the notice. I had about 2 weeks to go. I've been married about 6 years now. I got 1 daughter, 1.5 years. And I'm really interested in addressing the balanced budget issues. I think that's long-term. Pension reform, Medicaid reform are killing us. Short-term, our debts to our vendors. We're $6 billion. We passed a tax increase. Now they're around $8 billion. It's definitely heading the wrong direction. And I've been doing budgets my whole life, so it's one of the first things I'd like to address. So I'd like to address the business climate in the state, so we encourage people to start building right from within our community, as well as bringing in new businesses. I'd like to address the budget, and I'd like to fight back against some of the corruption that's pushing in from Chicago and affecting our whole state. So thank you for coming out.
Thank you, Mr. Arellano. Mr. Demmer.
Thanks, Kate, and thanks for being here tonight. It's good to see so many people playing an active role in democracy, especially as we're getting down to crunch time here. My name's Tom Demmer. I'm running for state representative in the 90th District. I'm a member of the Lee County Board, and I work at KSB Hospital in Dixon as Director of Strategic Planning. What I want to start with tonight is just answering a couple of questions that I get regularly on the campaign trail, and that's what's a young guy like you doing getting into politics? And really there are 2 things that I respond with. The first is that I know the problems that face our state today. I know the challenges that we're up against. And I know that if we don't start taking steps towards finding solutions to those problems, that it's going to be my generation that ends up paying those bills and bearing those burdens. But the second reason, the more important reason, is because I believe in Illinois. Again, we've heard every television station and radio station and newspaper and politician talk about all the problems that we have in Illinois. But what we don't hear very often is a positive vision for what Illinois can be, a positive vision of Illinois as a better place for us to live, to work, and to raise a family. And we can take specific steps towards achieving that vision by standing together to cut spending, by auditing where our money goes, where taxpayer money goes, by standing together to address the Medicaid system that's growing to more than a quarter of the state's budget right now. We can stand together to address the fact that for the past decade we've been mired in corruption, and that only through citizen participation and accountability and transparency in government can we right the ship and put Illinois back on track to be where we need to be. Frankly, I'm running for state representative because we need a fresh perspective in Springfield. We need a new set of eyes on the problems we face, and a set of eyes that has confidence that we have what it takes to solve the problems that we're up against. I go to Springfield with energy, with a perspective, and with a belief that we can, in fact, make Illinois a better place for all of us.
Thank you, Mr. Demmer. On to our questions. And the first one will go to Mr. Olson. What can Illinois do to become more friendly to businesses without increasing the tax burden for working people?
Well, first of all, we don't need to tax or make any tax increases to businesses, and citizens by themselves are taxed very deeply in our communities with real estate, sale of real estate taxes and so forth. But we do not need to go after corporations and businesses in our community and deter from jobs in our existing businesses or deter from any businesses coming into Illinois. So we need to keep those taxes reduced to businesses.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rolano.
There's quite a few things we can do actually to make a better business environment without raising taxes. First of all, we could make a more fair tax policy. We saw recently we just had a big tax increase on regular citizens and small business owners. Then they immediately went and turned around and bailed out a bunch of big corporations, putting an uneven amount of the tax burden on regular citizens and small businesses. We can reform the way unemployment policy works. We can reform the way workers' compensation work. They put a heavy burden on the first few years. And for anyone who's ever opened a business, you know the first few years of being open is your most dangerous time. So you're staggering the costs and burdens of opening a new business on the front end when you're already dealing with the cost of startup. Workers' compensation is one of the highest, one of the top 3 in the country in terms of payouts, making us a worse job environment than any of our surrounding states. And we've literally lost businesses that employ hundreds of people for that very reason. So there's few regulatory steps that we could make, still be very fair to everybody involved in the system, but make it easier to start up and grow in Illinois and lure new businesses to Illinois without touching or raising anybody's tax burden.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Demmer.
I think that we can become more friendly towards business by leveraging the strengths of the assets that we already have. One of the tools we've worked with in Lee County, and I know counties across northern Illinois have worked with it, is the enterprise zone law that essentially allows you to designate certain areas as growth zones with tax incentives for businesses who choose to locate there. We can see the example of that through industrial parks that pop up alongside interstates and near rail corridors across northern Illinois. And those programs allow for development, concentrated development, that has a ripple effect. By locating a manufacturer and an industrial park near transportation infrastructure, you have suppliers that start to pop up. You have an industry that revolves around that. Lengthening the life of enterprise zones is a concrete step we can take towards promoting local economic development.
All right, thank you. Mr. Sidmore.
Since four of us are conservatives and pro-business, it's hard to follow up on that. But one of the things we do need to do is go back to Governor Egger's Department of Commerce and Community Affairs, which was very successful during his administration, bringing jobs to the state of Illinois. We need to reduce regulations on farmers. We need to reduce regulations on business. That's one of the things. I went to Europe looking at processing on the farm community. We looked at how their basic, how they can do things that we can't do because all our laws are based on big corporations, not small companies. And that's one way we can start putting jobs back to work in Illinois with the small family farms.
Okay, thank you. On to our second question. So you can imagine anything in the legislature involving universities is of interest here. A proposal going through right now would, specifically House Bill 3810, would eliminate legislative scholarships. Do you support that legislation? Mr. Arellano, I'll start with you.
I do. I firmly believe we need to reform the way legislators do business. I think there's a lot of things they can do in terms of the big picture, but you run into a lot of corruption issues when you give legislators specific powers, such as doling out legislative scholarships. And of course, these scholarships aren't, they're kind of just forced onto the university system, and they kind of compete and mess around with the already established aid system they have for people applying. So I think we needed to leave it up to the universities who have built-in systems for picking who deserves aid and who gets aid, instead of doling it out to legislators. And we've seen the system get grossly abused in terms of who these scholarships go to, how they're handed out, not even legally handed out to people outside of the district. So any chance we can to reform and get a little bit of corruption out of the system is a good step, in my opinion.
All right, thank you. Mr. Demmer.
Many legislators have used the program effectively. Many students have benefited from it. But the fact is we face a crisis of confidence in state government today. And it's because of actions of some lawmakers who have abused that program, who have given it out to people with political connections. It's unfortunate that a whole program has to suffer because of a few examples like that, but it's important to end a program that gives the public the perception that state government isn't a fair and honest place to do business. What's worse is the fact that these scholarships aren't paid for. They don't come with any funds from the state government. They're simply told to the schools that they absorb the cost of having that student in their educational system. So when you look at the rising cost of education across the board, part of it's due to unfunded mandates like that. So, education is a major part of economic development in local areas. It's a major part of building a better society. But a program like this simply carries with it too many strings and too many misperceptions.
Thank you. Mr. Sidmore.
It's plain pork. Nothing more, nothing less. I've seen it in my career as a politician, growing up, working with state senators, how the system was abused and used as a personal perk. We have to get rid of it. There's no answer. It's unsavable.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Olson.
Well, legislative scholarships started out to be a good program, but, like all of us have commented on, it's gone to a sour taste in everybody's mouth. The intent of these scholarships and education is very important to our students and obviously to the families and in the communities and so forth. But our students are very, very good at what they do. They're very smart individuals these days. They're in the top of their classes. They earn their scholarships based on their merits and how well they do in the education system. And legislation doesn't need to be in the middle of this. This should be between the students and the colleges and what scholarships they earn. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. On to our third question. What are the three most important challenges facing the 90th District, and how would you address them? Mr. Demmer.
Sure. I think the first challenge facing our district is unemployment. We have unemployment that exceeds the state average in many cases. We've been hard hit by a loss of jobs in the manufacturing sector. We've been hard hit by some consolidation, some changes to the agricultural sector. We need to look at ways that we can promote on a local level the strengths that we have in terms of the rich soil that we have, the transportation network we have, the educational system that we have, and frankly the community pride and community support that we have across the 90th District. So unemployment is one of the first issues that we need to address. The second is simply that the 90th District is located in Illinois, and we face several of the same problems that the rest of the state of Illinois faces, specifically with a crisis of confidence in state government due to corruption and due to the unethical behavior of the past. And the third is the state budget problems that we continually face. As Springfield suffers problems, a lot of those trickle down to local levels of government, school boards, county boards, city councils, and that's going to be a problem so long as we have a problem emanating from Springfield.
Thank you. Mr. Sidmore.
Yes, jobs. We have some of the highest unemployment rates in the state. That's we all agree on. I also know when I was walking around getting my petitions, the 700 I got myself, that 20% of the households in DeKalb County that I went door to door were losing their homes. Housing is a big issue. The other thing I'm really concerned about is unfunded mandates coming back to municipalities, to the counties. We have to stop that immediately with Springfield. That's a simple thing. People just need to make up their minds. We're not going to do it anymore. I also believe that we have to go and start a positive image for the 90th District and saying we will pull ourselves out of this. We will pull ourselves up in bootstraps, and we need to use Northern Illinois as our milestone to help with this.
Thank you. Mr. Olson.
Well, obviously, one of the biggest issues out of the three is a balanced budget. In my experience as mayor for the last 8.5 years and visiting our state and federal agencies and so forth, specifically our state, there's a lot of internal abuse in spending in Springfield. They've asked communities, they've asked schools, they've asked everybody to tighten their belts, but they have not even started reducing spending internally. We've had legislative folks in these positions for many, many years, and we're not getting the problem solved. So that's one place we can start. We need to make some tough, sensible cuts and decisions to get this done. Jobs is a big thing. We need to continue to create jobs in our communities and keep the jobs in our states as well as attract new ones. And pension and Medicaid reform obviously is a big expense that needs to be addressed as well.
Thank you. Mr. Arellano.
Thank you. Well, I think this ties directly into what I mentioned in my opening speech, which is my platform. Number one, the economic outlook, so we're promoting a better business climate and have job growth. Number two, a balanced budget, so we're not leveraging our future with debts. As Tom mentioned earlier, our generation is inheriting a mass amount of debts, whether it's pension debt, Medicaid debt, sitting back payments to our vendors. We're just in a terrible situation where we're paying interest on our interest. And the third thing I mentioned was the corruption issues. And you see this representing, or hitting, I should say, our district, which is a very agricultural district. We just recently had yet another lame duck legislator who got voted out, turned around, broke campaign promises, and voted for the tax increase. And as a reward, he's getting appointed to head agriculture in the state of Illinois, even though he doesn't have much of an ag background. So patronage and corruption definitely affecting our district. A poor job climate that's chasing out manufacturers. I know Johnson Controls has left, Solans Electric has left. I could go on down the list of manufacturers that left our district. And then finally, balanced budgets that's affecting all of us, our whole state, leveraging our future, and like I said, we're paying interest on our interest. So,
All right, thank you. We're on to closing statements. Mr. Sidmore.
Yes. I think what we're really talking about here tonight is that we have four very conservative candidates. What we're looking at is who can get things done in Springfield. I have spent the last 20 years working in Springfield. I served on the Illinois State Disability Board for 8 years. We hired the director. I know the internal bureaucracy of an agency. I understand how agencies lack accounting. Their accounting systems are next to none. We need to go down with people with experience. I served with Denny Hastert as a personal aide to him. I understand how the federal government works. I worked with his chief of staff closely on certain issues, especially the American Disability Act, which we were able to put through with President George Bush. I do have the experience to get things done in Springfield, but I have the experience of not being part of the corruption down in Springfield. I ask for your vote on March 20th. I just got the stop sign.
Thank you. Mr. Elson.
Due to my active role in Springfield, my involvement in many local and state and national boards and committees, I feel my experience and leadership qualities will be the most important qualities I can bring to the position of the state representative of the 90th District. My goal is to assist in the necessary cleanup of the state budget, to work on job creation, and to promote solid economic growth and development for all the communities in the 90th District. My track record in Rochelle will show I am capable of achieving these goals. I am the only candidate that has been very clear that I am not taking or accepting PAC or special interest money. Because when I go to Springfield, I want to represent all the citizens of the 90th District with no commitments to special interest. I need your vote on March 20th, and I thank you for their time tonight. My name is Chet Olson.
Thank you. Mr. Arellano.
thank you. I think what you need to ask yourself tonight is, what are you looking for in your next state representative? What are you looking for in your next voice down in Springfield? I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that I come from a little different background than any of the other gentlemen up here. I'm the only one who started up and opened a business during the recession and managed successfully through, so I was on the front lines of the business climate, and we're looking for people to go down there and make a better business climate. I was balancing budgets when it mattered, when failing meant I failed. I've been doing budgets my whole life. I was paying my own way through college. I had my house paid off by the time I was 25, opened my own business by the time I was 26. I'm going to take firsthand knowledge of not only coming up from the job climate and creating jobs during that, but actually what goes into thinking as we try to grow here in the state of Illinois. I also have extensive leadership experience, not in the political background that any of my fellows up here do, but on battle zones where choices were crucially life and death important. I have led men in the battle zone, and I'm proud of that. So as you decide who you're picking tonight, think, if you want something with political experience, there's other great options. I'll endorse any of them if they win. If you're looking for something a little different to shake things up down there with first-hand experience, I would like to be your man. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Demmer.
Thank you. Again, thanks for coming tonight. It reminds me, a couple of weeks ago we celebrated Abraham Lincoln's birthday, and one of the quotes that we heard, and one of my favorites, is that we live in a nation with a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. What a great reminder that is to all of us, that when you live in a democracy, your government is anything that you determine it to be. That we have a choice and we have a role to play in determining what our government is. I think we can all agree that in Springfield right now, we don't have a government that is representative of the communities that we live in and the communities that we come from. We have an opportunity on March 20th to make a choice about what we'd like in Springfield. And if you believe that we can fight against the corruption and change the image that Illinois has, if you believe that we can make Illinois a better place to live, to work, and to raise a family, if you believe that we need a fresh perspective in Springfield, I'm with you. I'm with you all the way. My name's Tom Demmer. I'm running for state representative in the 90th District, and on March 20th, I'd appreciate your vote.
Thank you. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us this evening and sharing your visions for the 90th District. All right. Next up is the Republican candidate for DeKalb County Treasurer, Mark Todd.
Talk right into the mic.
Mr. Todd, thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for tonight's forum, and I wish everyone a happy evening this evening. My name is Mark Todd, and I'm the current county treasurer. I was appointed to the treasurer's position in February of 2011 to fill the unexpired term of Senator Christine Johnson, who had been appointed to the state Senate. For those of you who don't know, it is the county treasurer who has the responsibility to receive, invest, and distribute the revenue and public monies of the county. My office also keeps accounts of all monies paid out, stating the date, to whom payment is made, and on what account payment is made. I'm running to continue the job I have already started by improving the functions of the treasurer's office. I feel I have taken a good office and made it better by improving on the office's efficiencies. Since taking office, we have saved taxpayers money by improving the efficiency of mailing delinquent tax notices and the outsourcing of the preparation of property tax bills, cutting down on staff overtime. These are not exciting or hotly debated political issues, but in these hard economic times, it is my responsibility to cut costs and improve the functions of the office without asking for more money or lessening the service levels of our office to our citizens. This past year, I submitted a budget to the county board that included staffing reductions for my office, as well as a 3% reduction in the commodities and services that my office uses. It is my belief that government must learn to do more with less. Additionally, I have completed the Illinois State Comptroller's County Treasurer Program, extended the ability for people to pay property tax bills with their credit cards. We have automated the county tax sale program to make it more efficient and transparent, and we have expanded resources for county citizens on the website by providing information for distressed homeowners, as well as adding an interactive property tax bill that people can go online and look to see how that information is put together and where it comes from. I reside in Waterman with my wife Betsy, who is a nurse at Kishwaukee Hospital. We have one child still at home, a daughter Mary, and our oldest son is an Army intelligence officer based in Hawaii. And I, again, thank you for your attention this evening, and I appreciate your support, even though I'm unopposed in the March 20th primary. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Todd. Next up are the Republican candidates for DeKalb County State's Attorney. If Sean P. Smith and Clay Campbell would join us, please.
Again, and talk right into the mic so folks at home can hear.
Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this evening. We will start with opening statements. Mr. Smith.
Thank you. My name is Sean Smith, and I'm a Republican candidate for state's attorney here in DeKalb County. Before I tell you about me, I do want to thank the League of Women Voters and Kate for moderating tonight. I appreciate it very much. I live in rural Sycamore with my wife Laurel and my 3 children, Jake, Abigail, and Abraham Lincoln. My oldest is in college. 2 are in diapers, 1's potty training. It's an interesting life at our house. I'm a former cavalry platoon sergeant. I got my bachelor's degree from NIU. I have a law degree from the University of Illinois. I teach in the criminal justice department at Kishwaukee College. For the last 9 years, I've owned and managed my own law firm in Sycamore. And during that time, I've overseen and managed a budget. I've trained lawyers, a staff of attorneys and assistants within the office have been under my supervision throughout that period of time. Let me tell you what I will do. I will restore fiscal responsibility to the office. I'll bring tested leadership. I'll bring a vast array of legal experience. I'll restore damaged lines of communications between the state's attorney's office and our county officials and law enforcement agencies. What I won't do is mismanage the office's budget and ask the taxpayers to foot the bill. I won't accept campaign contributions from people with pending criminal cases or their family members. I won't allow public employees to campaign on county time, and I won't take credit for the hard work of our police officers and sheriff's deputies. I believe in personal responsibility and accountability. If my name is on it, it better be right. That's my standard. I also believe in keeping my word, and if I say it, it's so.
Thank you. Mr. Campbell.
Good evening, everybody. I also want to thank Kate and Lynn and Kay and the League of Women Voters for hosting this event tonight. I've had the unique experience the last couple of weeks of joining Mr. Smith in debates. I think this is our 4th one, and each time it's been a series of attacks on my character. I think I've been accused of being corrupt, unethical, incompetent. I think that probably sums it up. And my reaction to that is a thoughtful one. I'm an old trial lawyer. I've been trying cases for 20 years here in this county. Naturally, I want to respond fire with fire, blow for blow. But I think citizens are tired of the politics of personal attack. They're tired of negative campaigning. They're tired of mudslinging. So rather than me give you my opinion tonight of Mr. Smith, or rather than you see another display of mudslinging, I want to refer you to a judicial evaluation that was conducted here about 7 months ago for candidates that had applied for judge here in the circuit. Mr. Smith had applied for judge in this circuit, and he submitted his credentials to a committee of 21 individuals who voted on those individuals. Of the 43 attorneys that were submitted to that committee, 4 were found not to be recommended. In other words, 4 of the candidates that were applying for judge received a score of less than 60%. And Mr. Smith was the only applicant to be a judge from DeKalb County that was not recommended to be elevated to the bench. This was a group of individuals that was made up of attorneys who work with the attorneys in the circuit and have some experience in practice in law. The criteria was integrity, legal knowledge, legal ability, diligence, and legal experience. Ladies and gentlemen, I submit to you that rather than digress and go down into the mud and personally attack each other, we should look at the facts and comparing the candidates.
Okay, thank you. On to our questions. And I like all of these. I can only ask 3. We will start with, how much criminal case experience do you have, and does that experience help in this position? Mr. Smith.
Thank you. I have a fair amount of criminal law experience, contrary to what my opponent has said about me, I do practice criminal law. I've managed an office that practices a fair amount of criminal law as well. As the manager of my office, I have to delegate responsibilities. I use my partner's experience when their experience suits the purpose of my clients the best. Some of the criminal cases in my office, I handle. Many of them I delegate. I have tried criminal cases. I have tried innumerable, I have no idea what the number of civil cases I've tried over the years. Those of you who know or have watched a trial, civil cases, criminal cases are not terribly different procedurally. Criminal cases, typically, the law is much less complicated than in a civil case.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Campbell.
I'm in my 21st year of practicing criminal law here in DeKalb County. I've handled criminal cases all over the state of Illinois. I've been in most counties in northern Illinois and tried cases. I am licensed to practice before the Illinois Supreme Court, the federal courts in the state of Illinois, the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals in Chicago, and I was recently elevated to practice before the Supreme Court of the United States. I have spent my entire career practicing criminal law and trying criminal cases. There's a grand difference between criminal cases and civil cases. We are about to prosecute our 3rd murder case in 6 months. Murder cases are unlike any other cases. They're unlike civil cases because the ultimate penalty in those cases here in the state of Illinois now is life imprisonment. I have some of my prosecutors here tonight, and it's demeaning to say to them that civil and criminal cases are the same cases, because criminal cases take law enforcement and prosecutors combined to bring justice to the people.
Okay, thank you. On to our second question. This will be to Mr. Campbell first. Do you believe every aspect of local and county government is devoid of any corruption?
I don't. I think that we have symptoms here in our county of cronyism. I think there are examples of nepotism. I think that we could clean our government up and make it a lot more transparent. Too often I venture into bureaucracies here, and I see an awful lot of lack of transparency. Since I've been state's attorney for 15 months, I've received innumerable complaints about activities involving public officials, to the extent that just a couple of days ago, I had a forum here in the county, I think the first time in the history of the county, where a state's attorney has actually publicly addressed the issue of public corruption. And I made a point at that time that I prefer education over prosecution. I do not want to prosecute anybody for public corruption in this county. I will work as hard as I can to ensure that people understand that if you're a public official, you're responsible to the public good, and you have to put the public trust above your own private interest.
Thank you. Mr. Smith.
I was present for that political forum that Mr. Campbell held the other night, and he told all of us in the audience that there were no instances of political corruption within the county, and there were no pending investigations regarding corruption within the county. I'm not sure what the point of that was. I can tell you, if we look at the facts, that Mr. Campbell has accepted campaign contributions in the last election cycle and this cycle from people with pending criminal cases, has not disclosed that to the public other than to the Board of Elections, and has not returned those, and yet those cases still are pending within his office. I don't know, maybe that constitutes corruption.
Thank you. On to our third question. This one will go to Mr. Smith first. How will you engage and work with all county police departments?
Well, I've said throughout this campaign, I think we don't need more bells and whistles to run a state's attorney's office. We need communication. You pick up a phone, an old piece of technology, it's been around a while now, and you talk to people. You can't do that, you sit down in a room and you communicate face to face. There has been a breakdown in communication in the 14 months that Mr. Campbell's been in office. That's not helpful to any law enforcement agency, and it's certainly not a good use of our taxpayer dollars. My first order of business will be to sit down face to face with each and every chief, the sheriff, all the other county officials, and get some communication restored and get everybody back on the same page and the same team.
I repeatedly asked Mr. Smith to give us one example of a lack of communication or one law enforcement official that will step forward and say that a problem exists. The plain fact is we have an outstanding law enforcement community. I talk to them every week, and we are working to prosecute the murderer of Antoinette Keller and the unprecedented case involving Maria Ridolph, a 55-year-old murder case that is the oldest murder prosecution currently being conducted in the United States. We could not be prosecuting that case if my office didn't have an outstanding relationship with the FBI, and the Illinois State Police, and the Sycamore Police Department, and the DeKalb County Sheriff's Department, and the Seattle Police Department. So this criticism that he continues to lodge about a lack of communication between law enforcement is simply unsubstantiated, and this is probably the third or fourth time in public I've asked him to point to an instance, and I continue to not get a response. I commend our law enforcement. They're outstanding.
Thank you. On to closing statements. Mr. Campbell.
This is a critical time in the city of DeKalb. We have heroin coming into our city, we have guns coming into our city, and we have this continuing pernicious problem of child pornographers and sexual predators trying to prey on our children. Since I was elected 15 months ago, we have been at war with those individuals. I am concerned about safety at Northern. I am concerned about the safety here in the city of DeKalb. I have met with the top officials at Northern Illinois University. They share my concern. I've been doing this for 21 years. I am bringing all my experience and all of my energy and all of my dedication to ensure that this is the safest county in the state of Illinois. I think that every kid in DeKalb County is entitled to nothing less, and if we join together and elect qualified officials and work together with our law enforcement and bring our neighborhoods closer, we will achieve that standard, and we will ensure that parents are continuing to send their kids to our university.
Thank you. Mr. Smith.
I agree that the public safety is paramount and should be for any state's attorney in any county. Prosecuting criminals, reducing crime, that goes without saying. But it's also only one part of the role of the state's attorney. The state's attorney is also the county's attorney. The state's attorney has to be competent in more than just representing criminals for 20 years, but actually representing law-abiding citizens, advising the county board on civil matters, contractual matters, employment matters, real estate matters, land, property, etc., agricultural matters for that matter. I've represented clients in a vast array of settings and dealt with a vast array of legal issues, including criminal law. We would be remiss to say that the taxpayers who pay the salaries of the state's attorney and everyone in that office shouldn't be considered. So a little bit of financial responsibility has to be considered. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, Mr. Campbell, thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Next up, we have T.J. Moore from the City of DeKalb, and he is going to talk about the referendum that will be on the ballot for this electrical supplies.
Oh, it works. Excellent. Give everybody a second here. All right, good evening. My name is TJ Moore. I'm the Director of Public Works for the City of DeKalb. I am not an elected official. I am not seeking public office. This is purely informational on a referendum that is occurring on the ballot. Also, by way of clarification, the city doesn't have an official position on this. This is something that required under law. The city was responsible for putting it on the ballot, but this is purely a pure referendum in that it is truly up to the voters in both DeKalb County and City of DeKalb and multiple other communities to decide whether or not that this is a power that they want to grant to the municipality or the county, because I'm representing more than just the the city of DeKalb here tonight in effect. First of all, what is it? It's an amendment to the Illinois Power Agency Act that will allow city governments to purchase bulk electricity on behalf of the residents of whatever municipality. I'm going to speak towards DeKalb, but it's also multiple. So for the city of DeKalb, if it were to pass, the city of DeKalb would then publicly bid the power generation for the residents and very small businesses of the city of DeKalb, presuming that buying in bulk would reduce the price to the consumer. The ballot language is written in the legislation. It's kind of obtusely written. I'm sure it'll be in lots of newspapers. It's all around. But it is a granting of authority to the municipality, and it will obviously be on the referendum. Having said that, it is not a strict, unavoidable granting of authority. There are multiple points where individuals can opt out. For example, if the city gets the authority to do this, if this is passed, there will be two opportunities where, as the homeowner, as the individual consumer, you're given the right to say, no, no thank you. I want to stay with the power company that I'm with right now. I want to stay with ComEd, vicariously. Also, what's going to happen is ComEd doesn't or has not taken a position on this. So you're not going to upset ComEd. Your bill will still come from ComEd. And if you have an outage, it would still be ComEd that comes and repairs the outage. This is strictly, if you look at your electric bill, it's broken into two parts. There's the generation side and then the transmission or the delivery side. This is strictly on the generation side. There's actually a very long process. There are multiple public hearings that have to be done. There's a bidding process that has to be done. There are two opt-out parts. There are two opt-out opportunities for all consumers. Now, obviously, I already talked about ComEd. It's a fairly straightforward process. Right now, 11 communities have done this in Illinois so far. In fact, what I'm hearing is very close to 300 communities across Illinois have it on the ballot for this election cycle. And as of right now, it appears the average is about 30% of there's a 30% savings on the generation. Now, that's not the whole bill. The whole bill, it's, say between 10 and 15%. Of course, that's up to the bids as they come in the future, but that's what's been held to date so far. And that's really all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, TJ. Next up, we have the Democratic candidate for County Board District 5, Derek A. Tyson.
Good evening. My name is Derek Allen Tyson. I'm a DeKalb County Board member for District 5, and I'm running for re-election. I'm currently a coordinator for the Child Education and Welfare Department at NIU. Previously, I served for 10 years for the Upper Brown program here at Northern Illinois University, servicing families in DeKalb, Elgin, Rockford, and Aurora. I'm a United States Army veteran. I'm a former airborne paratrooper and a nuclear biological chemical specialist for the United States Army. My constituents that I've talked to are concerned about economic development, unemployment, foreclosure, and public safety. I believe that we need to have more DeKalb residents working in industry and also the factories here in DeKalb. We've already heard the numbers tonight about the high unemployment. So what are we going to do about it? I believe residents in DeKalb need access to jobs. It's not that we don't have them, because they are here. People are working here in industry in some of the factories. They're coming from Elgin, Rockford, Aurora, Chicago. I have 1 minute. I think we need to develop an industrial bus line that would take DeKalb residents to the jobs that are already here. There's one young man, one constituent in my neighborhood, he walks from 630 North Annie Glidden all the way to Menards every day to work, to provide, and feed his family. The same thing is happening around DeKalb all over. It's not that we don't have jobs or positions, but people cannot get there. 30 seconds. Public safety. One of the big questions about the county jail. Do we need it? Yes, we do. Okay, our jail was built in 1981. DeKalb has what people don't realize, what I like to call big city crime. I would invite anybody to come visit and come meet us at the Law and Justice Committee meeting every month. I have the annual jail report. In 2010, we were $900,000 over budget with overcrowding needs. I have to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dyson. Next, if I could have the Democratic candidates for County Board District 6, please. Bob Brown and Craig Roman. I do believe the third candidate, Ruth Ann Tobias, is not here today. Mr. Brown and Mr. Roman, thank you for joining us this evening. We're going to start with opening statements. Mr. Brown, if you'd like to start.
Well, thank you very much. I'm a long resident of DeKalb. I grew up in District 6 that I represent, attended St. Mary's School, DeKalb High School, and Northern Illinois University. My wife, Donna, and I have 5 adult children. And I went on to receive bachelor's and master's degrees from the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. Early in my career, I returned to NIU as Director of Alumni Giving for a number of years, and then moved on to the University of Illinois Extension Office, serving DeKalb County as its director. Currently, I'm a realtor, small business consultant, and family farm manager. I was first elected to our DeKalb County Board in 2010, and I thank you for this opportunity for county board members to have a moment to share their platforms. There are 3 major planks to my platform. The first is that we must continue to attract and expand green, clean businesses in DeKalb County and create more good-paying jobs. I support the marketing programs of the DeKalb County Economic Development Corporation. In the last 2 years, they brought 4 new companies to our county, generating 500 new jobs in this economy of all things. The second plank of my platform is that we must continue to promote the agricultural industry and improve our county's infrastructure. Last year, our county constructed 2 new bridges, one on Gurler Road, another on Old State Road. I'm on the Highway Committee and helped with that. And both handle heavier grain trucks now. I also was on the committee that worked with NIU in partnering the expansion of a high-speed fiber optic system across our county, which is going to do much to attract more companies to our area. The third plank of my platform is that we must hold the line on property taxes while continuing to increase the overall transparency of county government. And I can see that by televising our county meetings and taking government to the people in a number of different ways. I'll pick up on this in some of our questions, and I thank you for the opportunity this evening.
Thank you. Mr. Roman.
Thank you. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for providing this forum tonight. I'd also like to thank all the residents here and at home who are being active participants in their community. I'm Craig Roman. I'm running for your 6th District Representative. I started this process 3 years ago when I felt that my voice was silenced, that my representative didn't listen, my representative didn't hear from us, and that just gave me a disheartening feeling in government. So I'm missing our third candidate here. But if you don't feel representative, if you feel neglected, or simply don't know your board member, then you know why I'm running. I believe that we need to bring the government to the people. I have said that I will have quarterly meetings with the residents. I will bring the decisions that the county board has come to, or the decisions that the county board is pondering to the residents. And if there's going to be a vote, I would poll my residents and see what the consensus of the residents are, and that is how I will vote. I will be the vote of the people, and I will be the representative of the people. Thank you.
Thank you. On to our questions. I would have been stunned if this one wasn't in your bag. Would you consider, or would you reconsider the expansion of the county landfill? Mr. Brown.
Well, all that discussion and vote took place before I came on the county board. So it was kind of a litmus test when I first ran as to what my position might be on an issue that I had not had a full chance to research or participate in all the deliberation. But the position I've taken and continue to have is that I oppose the landfill as it is presently proposed. I'll repeat, I oppose the landfill as it is presently proposed. It's on two tracks. Quickly, one track is at the Second Court of Appeals in Elgin. We hope to hear by June or July the outcome of the appeal that's being made by the Stop the Megadump group working toward that. The other track is one that was announced last week, and that is the formation of a new committee, which has been called for the present time the DeKalb County Sustainability Task Force, a Zero Waste Goal Task Force. And that hopes to bring together long-range planning for our waste into the future, regardless of what might happen at the Second Appeals Court. I do have some ideas on what we may do in future negotiations, and I'd be happy to visit later about those.
Thank you. Mr. Roman.
Thank you. I alluded to it earlier that I got into this race about 4 years ago. The problem, my son was assigned to Cortland Elementary. If you've ever been to Cortland Elementary, you know it exactly across the expressway from there is the landfill. I attended all the meetings. I stood with the Stop the Mega Dump members. I opposed the landfill then, and I oppose the landfill now. That the whole process of taking in 17 surrounding counties' garbage to fund the expansion of our jail is just wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. Strangely, our next question is about the jail. Do you support an expansion of the county jail, and why or why not? Mr. Roman.
I do approve the expansion of the jail. The funding mechanism of the expansion is what I have a problem with. The transfers that we are moving inmates back and forth through different counties to different jails can be housed in the jail if it was expanded. But the idea of the funding mechanism that is behind it, I cannot agree with and do not support.
Thank you. Mr. Brown.
Yes, well, this question was asked to us by the DeKalb Daily Chronicle, so I'll read my answer to it, and that is gangs, drugs, and guns are on the rise in DeKalb County. 50 gang members identified a while ago, now more than 500 in DeKalb County. The Sheriff's Department and local law enforcement agencies must have the police officers, patrol cars, and modern technology needed to prevent and reduce crime. I also support the overall expansion of our county jail. However, I do not support funding the construction of a new jail by greatly expanding the county landfill in order to generate increased county revenue through more tipping fees paid to dump more garbage from several surrounding counties. So I guess then the question becomes, well, then how do you plan to pay for the new jail? Because I agree that we do need that. There's some ideas floating around. I'd like to entertain some of those. One might even be a new resort center near Shabna by the Potawatomi tribe.
All right. Thank you. Third question. What is the biggest issue facing the county, and how would you address it if elected to the board? Mr. Roman.
The biggest issue I would have to say for the 6th District is the foreclosure crisis. That the amount of people that have either lost their home, that are starting to lose their home, or that have completely lost a home and the home is vacant. That would be the largest issue we have in the 6th District or in the county, I would see. The numbers that I have been told is that we have 28,000 residences, and 2,800 of them have been foreclosed in the last 4 years. Now, if that isn't a staggering statistic, I don't know what is. So I would look for a way that we can stem this tide. I would have to admit that I was almost one of those 2,800. There was a medical emergency that almost caused me to lose my home. So I can totally understand what these people are going through, and they'll have my support.
Thank you. Mr. Brown.
I believe it's to continue to develop the economic backbone of our county, which would help address some of the foreclosure questions in terms of jobs for people, good-paying jobs with benefits. And I mentioned already working with the DeKalb County Economic Development Corporation. I would also mention that in the past year, our Economic Development Committee of the County Board has worked closely with the DeKalb County Convention and Visitors Bureau that landed, as you know, a big Hollywood movie here last year. And estimates are still coming in, but somewhere over $750,000 additional dollars were generated through the filming of the movie here last summer, including buying boots for some of the cast members at Farm and Fleet. So there's all sorts of dimensions there. We're also looking at the development of the arts and entertainment industry in DeKalb County and a new county arts council. And when you start seeing the international corporations that are based in DeKalb County that serve the entertainment industry worldwide, it would cause you just to marvel. You think we were the second Hollywood.
Thank you. On to closing statements. Mr. Brown.
Well, I would like to thank the DeKalb County League of Women Voters and wish them well as they continue to grow and thrive in the future. I would restate my three main planks to the platform being to continue to attract and expand green businesses and create more good-paying jobs. Must continue to promote the agricultural industry and the infrastructure throughout our county. And we must hold the line on property taxes while continuing to increase the overall transparency of DeKalb County government. I have thanked the voters for the trust they've given me in the past and would ask for their vote for Bob Brown in the Democratic primary on March 20th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Roman.
I would like to thank the League of Women Voters again. That I would like to go on my platform that it would be jobs. That we need to bring jobs into this county. We need to bring good-paying jobs into this county. My other would be the foreclosure crisis, that we need to stem that. We need to keep our residents here. And my third would be communication, that our residents don't know who their elected officials are, or our elected officials don't communicate with the residents. I cannot say the last time that I have met my elected representatives. So planning to be with the members, with the residents quarterly, explaining to them what is happening would greatly bridge the relationship between the county and the residents. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Brown, Mr. Roman, thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
The Democratic candidates for County Board District 7, Misty Haji Sheikh and Sally Defa, could please join us. Good evening. Thank you for joining us, ladies. Each have a 2-minute statement to give. If we could start with Ms. Haji Sheikh.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming out tonight, and thanks to you watching on television, and thanks to the League for having this. We're glad to see you back in business. I've lived in DeKalb, District 7, since 2002. I am married to an NIU professor, which is why I came here. I have a son at DHS, and my daughter and I are both students at NIU. I'm committed to this community. I currently serve on a number of boards. I serve on TAILS, Humane Society Board, Kishwaukee Symphony Orchestra, DeKalb Music Boosters, the Finance and Facilities Committee for District 428, and the Elwood Historic Neighborhood. I believe our county can do better. We can be on the forefront as corporations bring their businesses back from overseas. As we move forward, we can also look at successful counties and use their knowledge to help improve our county. And we can do better when we spend taxpayer money. As proof of this, I was chairperson of the Finance Advisory Committee. My committee and I improved the schools here in DeKalb by opening a new high school on time and on budget. The new high school is hosting a number of competitions and festivals that make money for the school and the school district, including coming from fees, ticket sales, and concessions. Secondly, and there's more. The first competition was held the second week of school, and many more are planned all year long. Secondly, my committee and I looked at a model to save taxpayer money. We used a computer model that spread out all of the different income and expenses of the district, and then we could project where we were going to be. And we were able to ultimately save millions of taxpayer dollars. We can also do better in communication. You've heard that tonight. Some simple, low-cost Simple and low-cost ways to improve communication include effectively using social media, like Twitter or Facebook. And we can also focus on reaching out to the voters. If you don't live in my district, but you like what I stand for, you can still support my campaign. I have literature available. You can help out with my campaign. You can even make a donation. Using my experience in leadership, I'll work hard to accomplish these goals for the residents of DeKalb County because I believe together we can do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. DeVos.
Thank you. Thank you to the board, the League of Women Voters, for making this available this evening. And thank you to the public that has come, and thank you to the public at home watching. My name is Sally DeFaw, and I am currently the DeKalb County Board Representative for District 7. I've been on the board since 2004 and hope to continue to serve District 7. My husband Mike and I have lived in DeKalb for 39 years. We raised our family of 3 sons here, now adults, and I'm proud that there are 5 that call me grandma now. We've been living in District 7 for 13 years. I've been an active volunteer in my community. I've been on the DeKalb Landmark Commission for many years. I'm currently the chair. I've also worked with the City of DeKalb's Architectural Improvement Program for 11 years. I just got off that committee, where we worked on 40 projects in the downtown for facade improvement. I also work at the Joseph Glidden Homestead as a volunteer, and I've worked at the City of West Chicago as their curator for the last 24 years. In past campaigns, when going door to door, I have seen that people in the county do not know what the county does for them, what their tax dollars do. And I'm currently on the Health and Human Service Committee and the Forest Preserve Committee, both near and dear to my heart. And both, while seemingly disparate, give a variety of the services that the county provides. Human Services right now is looking at senior tax levy, how to distribute that to our seniors to keep them in their homes. And Forest Preserve has been acquiring new properties for our forest properties. I look at it as nature's big classroom. Both are important to the citizen and the quality of life here in DeKalb, and I hope to continue that on the board. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for joining in this evening, ladies. We could have the Democratic candidate for County Board District 8, Mark Johnson, join us, please.
It is an honor to have been invited by the DeKalb County League of Women Voters to speak on International Women's Day. First observed in 1909, this celebration of independence was instituted as a result of a community of women working together towards common goals. Sometimes it's difficult to remember that just as it's important to honor these goals on days like this, it's even more important to honor them every day. During periods of economic strife, communities will change. Many parts of these communities will become smaller as funds become scarce or cut in the name of austerity. But other parts of these communities will grow. It is left to us to decide what will grow, what will be cut, and what will be left to wither. These are the times that we choose what kind of community we will ultimately be. DeKalb County has a unique opportunity to utilize its agricultural, educational, and labor resources to become a more self-sustaining and cleaner community. More importantly, these resources can provide us with a means of fighting hunger and poverty. Programs like the DeKalb Area Community Gardens or local farming cooperatives can be expanded to where they can help sustain the needs of our county. Rather than just relying on the goodness of volunteers, adopt these programs as part of a local initiative to create jobs by growing food for schools, restaurants, and groceries. This is just one possibility. And even this one possibility is beyond the scope of one county board candidate. It must be embraced and worked by the entire community. Just as women worked and continue to work so hard to be recognized as equals. We must all work together so that our community can grow into a place that we will all be proud to call home. Again, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters and all the residents of DeKalb County for giving me an opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Mark Johnson, and I am a candidate for the DeKalb County Board, District 8.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. If I could have the candidates for County Board District 9, Democrats Julia Fossey and Paul Stoddard, and Republican Samuel Lewis Bandy, Jr. Thank you for joining us this evening. This is a race that is not contested in the primary, but will be in the general election in November. So if we could have a 2-minute statement from each of you, starting with Ms. Fossey.
Hello, I'm Julia Fossey. I am completing my third term, I should say, as DeKalb County Board member for District 9. I'm seeking re-election for my 4th term. I've been honored to have been elected to the Forest Preserve Committee chairmanship. Now I'm in my 8th year. That committee has been dear to my heart. I worked very strongly on a 2006 referendum that is now allowing us the cash to purchase and expand more land and expand our system. It's greatly needed. I have also started the Go Green initiative with Pat Very, who is retiring from the board this year. We sponsored numerous educational seminars. We're also, looking into green businesses, because when we have a decentralized green infrastructure, it truly generates more jobs. I worked very strongly developing a Greenways and Trails Coalition plan. We are now beginning to see the fruits of those labors. We have 2 new bike paths. We created one along 23. By the New Cancer Institute and along Dresser Road to the new high school. I am on the DeKalb County Courthouse Ad Hoc Expansion Committee, which has been a great honor. That building is a true architectural gem. I can't wait for all of you to come and visit it in July. For new projects that I'd like to work on, something related to our agricultural environment that surrounds us, that we begin to eat from a radius of 150 miles. There are so many institutional meals, like for the county and our educational schools, that there's a real chance that part of our diet can come from 150 miles away. I've been endorsed by the DeKalb County Farm Bureau twice, and I really believe that this county should remain agricultural as well as urban. I believe as our nation ages, we need to support more public transportation.
Thank you. Mr. Stoddard.
My name is Paul Stoddard. I've been a resident of the DeKalb area since 1989 when I came to work for Northern Illinois University as a geology professor. I've been on the county board for 6 years. I'm also a member of the local Kishwaukee Kiwanis group. I've been with them for roughly the same amount of time. I wanted to take a moment just to remind everybody that in the county elections this year, everybody is up for re-election, and so when you go vote in November especially, you get to vote for 2 people, however you choose to divide that vote up. Since being on the board, I've had experience on the Highway Committee. I currently chair the Health and Human Services Committee, and I am on the Finance Committee. In all those committees, I've been working to make sure that the county, as much as possible, maintains the services that we've provided. These are things like the law and justice with the Sheriff's Department, the State's Attorney that we heard from earlier, and so forth, Health and Human Services. As Sally mentioned earlier, we are distributing the senior tax levy, which is important to note. It's not a tax on seniors, it's a tax for seniors to help maintain their independence so that they can live at home as long as possible. I did want to focus, and I'm not supposed to do this, but focus on one of the mistakes I made last year or two, and that has to do with the landfill. We came up, I'm not going to apologize for my vote, but I will apologize for the fact that we did not communicate properly and effectively with our constituents about that issue in a timely fashion. This, I think, we fell down on, and I pledge to do a much better job. Talk about, Misty mentioned social media and communicating and so forth, and that's something we absolutely have to do. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Bandy.
Hi, my name is Sam Bandy Jr. That's what I go by. I have a lengthy name otherwise. I was on the county board more than 25 years ago for 2 elected terms. At that time, I was on the Safety and Law Committee and the Forest Preserve Committee myself. I know what these people are talking about when they talk about those committees. In the meantime, since I left the county board to take a better assignment at work at the time, where I was put into detectives, I saw the county board grow. Now, they didn't grow in the number of representatives, but they grew in the number of meetings, the number of committees, the number of people on committees, and the amount of money that each county board member gets. That is a symptom to me of the big government that we don't need. Committees that once had 6 now have more people on. When we once had 5 committees or 6 committees, now there are 8 committees in some cases, or ad hoc committees, or other things. You have things that were supposed to be private corporations that reported to the Board Rules Committee that now have their own committee, such as the Economic Development Commission. Yes, it's important. Number one problem I see right now is that the board claims to have a balanced budget, yet for the last 2 years, they've been taking almost $1 million a year out of the county's emergency fund. This goes back to 1987 when the county decided to go self-insured. And at that time, we had actuaries tell us how much needed to be in that emergency fund based on risk, based on exposure, and based on population. Right now, the biggest problem in this county is jobs. Everybody agrees to that tonight, I believe. However, what we need to do when we talk about the jobs that have been created is look back at the last 10 years. And looking at the last 10 years, what was the net loss of jobs in this county? What was the net gain of jobs and the increase in population to leverage those out? Because the increase in population has to be a ratio that will affect the number of jobs lost and the number of jobs gained as far as the full term. I do believe in term limits for the county board. I had 2 terms and I left. I think that was enough. Pay levels, I think, are too high for county board members currently. I disagree with the landfill. My grandson goes to Cortland School, and it smells when you go over there on a windy day. The only thing green about the landfill is the kids' faces when they come out of that school. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
All right. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of DeKalb County, we thank you for coming to our candidates' night tonight, both those who came in person and those listening on Channel 14. I wish you a pleasant evening.